My boss made me document every single bathroom break down to the exact second. He installed tracking software on my computer, demanded status updates every 15 minutes, and when I took 2 extra minutes on my lunch break, he docked my pay. But here's the thing. I didn't quit. I did something so much better. I gave him exactly what he asked for. I'd been working at Pinnacle Solutions for 3 years when Marcus Chen became our new department manager. Before him, our team was actually functional. We hit our deadlines, we collaborated well, and our previous manager trusted us to do our jobs like the professionals we were. Marcus changed everything in his first week. He called a mandatory team meeting at 8 a.m. sharp on his first Monday. When my coworker, Daniel, walked in at 8:02 because the elevator was slow, Marcus stopped mid-sentence and made a show of checking his watch. 2 minutes late, he said, writing something in a leather notebook. That's noted. Daniel apologized and took his seat, but I saw his face flush with embarrassment. Little did we know that moment was just the preview. By week 2, Marcus had implemented what he called his accountability system. Every employee had to send him an email at the start of each day listing our planned tasks in 15-minute increments. Then, throughout the day, we had to send status updates, confirming we were on track. Every 15 minutes. My inbox became a nightmare of timestamps. My actual work productivity plummeted because I was spending so much time documenting what I was supposedly doing instead of actually doing it. But it got worse. One afternoon, I got up to use the bathroom. When I came back 4 minutes later, Marcus was standing at my desk, arms crossed, staring at my empty chair like it had personally offended him. "Where were you?" he demanded. "The restroom," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "For how long?" I blinked. "I don't know, a few minutes." He opened that leather notebook again. "I need exact times, Sarah. When you left your desk and when you returned. This needs to be logged." I thought he was joking. He wasn't. From that day forward, Marcus required all of us to log our bathroom breaks. We had to note the time we left, the time we returned, and the duration. He even created a shared spreadsheet for this information that the whole team could see. My colleague Priya nearly cried at her desk the first time she had to publicly log that she'd been in the bathroom for 7 minutes. She had her period. She didn't share that with Marcus, of course, but the humiliation of having her bathroom time scrutinized by everyone was unbearable. I tried going to HR about it. Miranda, our HR representative, listened to my concerns with a practiced sympathetic expression, then told me that Marcus's methods were unconventional but not technically against policy. "He's trying to maximize productivity," she said. "Maybe give it some time." Give it time? Right. A month in, Marcus installed monitoring software on all our computers. He could see our screens in real time. He could track every keystroke, every website visited, every moment of supposed inactivity. If your computer sat idle for more than 3 minutes, you got an instant message asking why you weren't working. I got one of those messages while I was reading a physical document for a project. My hands weren't on my keyboard, so clearly I was slacking. The status updates became more frequent. Every 15 minutes turned into every 10. Then Marcus started doing desk walks, circling the office floor multiple times per hour, peering at our screens, asking questions about what we were working on. One day, he stood behind me for a full 12 minutes. I know because I was watching the clock, my skin crawling with awareness of his presence. He didn't say anything. He just watched. When he finally walked away, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely type. My breaking point came on a Thursday. I had a doctor's appointment scheduled for months, a specialist I'd waited 8 weeks to see. I'd submitted the time off request properly, gotten it approved by the previous manager before he left, and had the confirmation email to prove it. Marcus called me into his office that morning. "I see you're planning to leave at 2 p.m. today," he said, not looking down from his computer. "Yes, I have a doctor's appointment. It was approved months ago. I'm going to need you to reschedule." What? I can't reschedule. It took 2 months to get this appointment. He finally looked at me. "The Henderson project needs revisions by tomorrow morning. I need all hands on deck." "Marcus, I submitted this request properly. It was approved. This is a medical appointment." And I'm telling you, the department's needs come first. He turned back to his screen. Reschedule. I didn't reschedule. I went to my appointment. The next morning, I found an email from Marcus sent at 10:47 p.m. the night before. He docked 4 hours from my paycheck for unauthorized absence and added a formal warning to my personnel file for insubordination and failure to follow management directives. I sat at my desk staring at that email, something cold and sharp crystallizing in my chest. He wanted accountability, he wanted documentation, he wanted to track every second of my time. Fine, I would give him exactly that. Okay, I have to stop here for a second because this is where I made a decision that changed everything. If you've ever had a boss who made you feel like a prisoner in your own workplace, subscribe right now. And tell me in the comments, have you ever been monitored like this? Have you ever felt like you couldn't even breathe without someone timing it? Because what I did next, let's just say Marcus got exactly what he asked for, and he really, really didn't like it. I called it Operation Malicious Compliance. Marcus wanted documentation, he would drown in it. I started sending status updates every 5 minutes instead of every 10. Detailed ones, excruciatingly detailed ones. 8:47 a.m., opened email client. 8:48 a.m., read email from client regarding Henderson project. 8:49 a.m., began composing response to client email. 8:50 a.m., typed greeting in first sentence of response. 8:51 a.m., paused typing to consider appropriate phrasing for second sentence. I logged everything. Every bathroom break with start and end times to the second. Every moment I stood up to stretch, every sip of water, every time I looked away from my screen to rest my eyes. At first, Marcus seemed pleased. "Now this is what I'm talking about," he said after my first day of hyper-documentation. "This is accountability." But by day 3, his inbox was flooded with hundreds of emails from me alone. His phone buzzed constantly with my notifications. When he tried to respond to actual work emails, he had to scroll past screens and screens of my status updates. "Sarah, this is excessive," he said, stopping by my desk. "I'm just being accountable," I said sweetly. I'd also quietly talked to my coworkers. Daniel was the first to join in, then Priya, then 3 others from our team. Within a week, Marcus's inbox was receiving over 1,000 status updates per day. His accountability system was working perfectly. We were all being incredibly, meticulously accountable. Marcus's productivity plummeted. He couldn't keep up with reading our updates, let alone doing his actual job. His superiors started noticing that his own reports were late, his responses to executive inquiries were delayed, and department metrics were slipping. But I wasn't done. I started documenting Marcus, too. Every time he took a coffee break, I noted it. Every time he left for lunch, I logged the duration. Every time he stepped away from his desk, I recorded it in a spreadsheet I titled Management Accountability Tracking. When he spent 47 minutes in a meeting that was scheduled for 30, I noted it. When he arrived at 8:03 instead of 8, I noted it. When he took a personal call that lasted 19 minutes, I noted it. I compiled a month's worth of data showing that Marcus, on average, spent about 4.5 hours per day on actual productive work. The rest was meetings that ran long, coffee breaks, personal calls, and what I diplomatically called desk walks of employee observation. I submitted this report to HR with a formal request for clarification on accountability standards. If employees are required to document all non-work activities down to the second, I'm requesting confirmation that management is held to the same standard. Attached, please find my observations of our department manager's time allocation for the past month. Miranda from HR called me the next day, her voice strained. "Sarah, this isn't... You can't just..." "I'm following the accountability system," I said. "Should I not be tracking time usage? I thought that was company policy now." "It's not company policy. It's your department manager's preference for his team." "So the rules only apply to some employees?" I asked. "That seems inconsistent. I'd like formal clarification on which employees are subject to time tracking and which aren't, and the reasoning behind that distinction." There was a long pause. The following week, Marcus was called into a meeting with the VP of Operations and the head of HR. I don't know exactly what was said in that meeting, but I do know that Marcus came out looking like he'd aged 5 years. 2 days later, we received an email announcing that the accountability system was being restructured. Status updates would now be required only at the start and end of each day. The bathroom logging spreadsheet was deleted. The monitoring software remained, but the instant messages about inactivity stopped. Marcus didn't look at me for a week. But here's the thing about people like Marcus. They don't learn. They just find new ways to exert control. 3 weeks after the system was restructured, Marcus started scheduling one-on-one meetings with each team, every single day, 30 minutes each. He called them alignment sessions. In these meetings, he'd grill us about our tasks, our timelines, our methods. He'd question every decision, suggest improvements to every process, and end each session by assigning additional documentation requirements. The meetings were technically allowed, but they were eating up 2 to 3 hours of each person's workday. So I documented that too. I calculated the total hours lost to these alignment sessions across the team. I quantified the impact on project timelines. I created a presentation showing that our department's productivity had dropped by 31% since Marcus took over, and that the primary cause was time spent in mandatory meetings and documentation rather than actual work. I sent this report to the VP of Operations directly, CCing HR and Marcus. I believe in accountability, I wrote in my email. Here is my accountable assessment of our department's current operational efficiency. Marcus was placed on a performance improvement plan the next month. The irony was not lost on me. 3 months later, he was quietly transferred to a different division. I heard through the grapevine that he'd been given a smaller team and stripped of his authority to implement new systems without executive approval. The day he left, Priya brought in cupcakes. Daniel literally applauded when Marcus walked out with his box of belongings. It wasn't professional, but after everything that man put us through, I couldn't bring myself to care. Our new manager, Teresa, introduced herself with a simple philosophy. I trust you to do your jobs. If there's a problem, we'll address it. Otherwise, I'll stay out of your way. I almost cried. Looking back, I think about what Marcus wanted versus what he got. He wanted control. He wanted to feel powerful. He wanted us to know that he was watching, always watching, and that we existed at his mercy. But surveillance goes both ways. Documentation is a tool anyone can use. And when you demand that people account for every second of their time, you'd better be prepared for them to demand the same from you. I still have that spreadsheet tracking Marcus's time. I keep it as a reminder that even the smallest person can fight back against petty tyranny, one documented minute at a time. Thanks so much for sticking with me through this whole story. If it resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more workplace nightmare content every week. And if you've got your own horror story about a micromanaging boss or a toxic workplace, I want to hear it. Drop it in the comments or submit it through the link in our bio. Your story could be featured in an upcoming video. Take care of yourselves out there, and remember, document everything. You never know when you'll need it.